All right, it's Monday on Daily Delivery. Patrick Reusse here along with me. I am Michael Rand. Gonna get everybody out of vacation mode. Patrick, it was a nice long 3 days for a lot of us. The weather was really good. I got away for a little while, got some outdoors time, stuff like that. So it's all good. But we're shifting right back into it, Patrick, and I think we'll talk some Twins, some NBA, maybe a little bit of the story that I did that ran over the weekend on kind of the future of watching sports. But Patrick, the Twins is interesting that the homestand, a lot of familiar problems. I'd say Royce Lewis came back at just about the perfect time. A year after he got hurt again, the catastrophic injury for the second time. If he can stay healthy, man, it really shows how much he can add to this team.
Well, he's an athlete for one thing. I mean, he was
Yes.
a hitter yesterday, but he's also an athlete. He can steal a base. He can do a lot of things. I know. I was talking to Sean Aronson, who's been over there with the Saints forever, and he's a pretty good guy. And last year, before he came up, the first time I was talking to Sean, and he said when you watch Royce Lewis in AAA, he's just a different athlete than the rest of them that are playing there now. That I saw the average age of the Saints now is 28, but he was, he was. I thought that was a pretty good scouting report because he told me he's just a different breed of cat than everybody else we have over here. And then he came up and played shortstop and did really well. And then he came back and played 3 innings in center field and killed himself. But yeah, he is a. The thing about him is he was always more. The swing was not great. Everything else about him was terrific. And I know Boris was telling me from the beginning what a great kid he was and what a mature kid he was. But the swing I think has gotten better too. And his plate coverage like yesterday was terrific. And
Yeah.
he hits the ball pretty good to left field the first time up. And then 0-2 pitch, he hits the right field foul pole and 3-run homer. And that's a definite lift. Now, I got a little nauseated listening to the leadership he brings and all that crap. I mean, his leadership is, you know what leadership is? Hitting the foul pole with a 3-run homer. That's what it is. When you haven't scored a run in a week. So I mean, he's a really nice kid. He's sharp. I've talked to him a couple of times. He did a long thing the day after he got hurt last year, or a couple of days after he got hurt, and it was amazing the maturity he showed then. Not feeling sorry for himself at all. But yeah, he's a big addition to this team, and boy, do they need something because when Buxton goes in the tank and has one of those stretches where he's striking out all the time. Oof, this lineup is lousy. So I can't be too excited about getting Kepler back. What are they going to do with their roster here when they got Polanco coming back, and somebody's got to go. Solano, or I think Willie Castro stays, so maybe Solano. Somebody's got to go. Not that it's a big crisis or anything,
Right.
because the other possibility is somebody get hurt because they always do, but. Yeah, they needed something, and let's just accept him that he's a good baseball player and he's a nice guy, but we don't have to start reading. Oh, he's the leader we need in the clubhouse. What? Come on, shut up. It's a baseball.
Yeah. He's
You
he's
know,
the batter they need at the plate. And when was the last time maybe I'm selective memory here, but I can't remember a lot of right-handed opposite field home runs in this season, other seasons, recent past. I Sano would do it every once in a while if he was
was
hitting the way
late.
he was supposed to. But
Yeah.
that was just the fact that he could take one that way out. You see so many home runs these days that are just blasts to left, sometimes to center, but him going to right with a home run for a 3-run homer, that was pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Now that probably would have been the same thing in target field in that corner that he hit it, but it'll be interesting to see watch him in action as a hitter. But it certainly was a wonderful debut for him, and they needed it. And then, hey, how about Ryan Jeffers? Was it 3 first pitch base hits, right? All on, including the game-winning home run. I keep saying you got to catch him half the time. Vasquez is supposedly he's a receiver. Well, about twice a game he's chasing one back to the screen, and I think he's vastly overrated. And let Jeffers start catching more because he's I mean, they were all talking this spring about his new approach at the plate and how hard a work he did in the offseason. And we haven't given him a chance to find out if it works or not. Because with the pitch com and the whole thing going on now, the old idea of handling pitchers is nonsense anyway. So I mean, you got to be able to receive, and he's okay, but I'd give him a lot more at bats. And then Kirilloff got on base 5 times too. So I was looking it up to try to find out when those 3 guys first played together. Lewis and Kirilloff and
Jeffers.
Jeffers. And I know back in 2019 they were in Pensacola together for a while.
Wow.
So they've probably been Jeffers actually he made it to the big leagues his 3rd year, I think. So he was kind of the guy they pushed along, and then he hasn't gotten much chance lately. But maybe this will give him more of an opportunity because Vasquez has been just one of the big. When you're batting Michael Taylor down there in 8th, and then you got him hitting 9th, you got 2 outs right in a row to lead around to the top of the order. That's not good. So they got to play Vasquez less, I think.
Yeah, he's been, and the thing about it too is we talk about handling of pitchers, and sometimes that's how you're calling a game, stuff like that. But you're right, that's changed over the years. And if and when we get electronic balls and strikes, like any sort of pitch framing metrics aren't going to matter anymore either. Like it's going to be you could Gary Sanchez was 10 years too early. He was.
That's right. Gary, though, he was with the Mets and they released him Thursday. Come on.
Yeah, poor guy. They called him up and they released him. Yeah.
He's a decent guy. He just wasn't much of a receiver. And he kind of, I think the same thing happened to him that handled him as a hitter that happened to Miguel Sano. Just the variety of pitchers who throw 98 miles an hour, and the fact you're never going to see the same guy a 3rd time has kind of killed a lot of hitters, and I think Gary is one of those type of hitters too. The difference between Miguel and him is he had a bigger brain on his shoulders, I think, than Miguel ever did. How about Miguel? He's still down in the Dominican, apparently.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. I don't know. You'd think he'd be in Korea or some dang thing, making some money. It's unbelievable, but. I don't know. The Twins win a game, so they're now I got a scoreboard watching yesterday. I put out a tweet about scoreboard watching. Detroit lost, so we can get excited here. Well, Detroit was 1 game out.
They were tied in the loss column too. They were tied in the loss column.
Yeah, it's just not I don't know. They've scored 2 or less 18 times. That's not going to get her done. 1/3 of the time they score 2 runs or less. So
yeah, their offense it's bad and it's inconsistent, right? Because they'll have those games like they had 7 yesterday, they had 9 a couple days ago against Toronto, right? But they're not hitting well enough, consistently enough, and then they've got the bullpen has been a little bit shaky. Lately, as shaky as maybe polite. Who was it? It was Stewart that gave it up yesterday, and he'd been pretty good.
Lopez got 3 outs yesterday and 4 pitches. I don't know what happened. I guess they must have swung at some. He's been terrible for it.
Yes.
Lopez. Ever since I wrote about how good he was after his first 10 games. First 10 games, he was impeccable.
Yes.
And then he went in the tank. One problem with them is they got him. He's got this good sinking fastball. And they haven't thrown nothing but hanging curveballs that somebody hits 800 miles. They're so dang breaking ball happy, this team, that, when you watch Louis Varland pitch, I was complaining about this the other day, make him hit his fastball before you start having him flip up sliders, which hang there and somebody whacks them. So they're, I don't know, they're way too breaking ball crazy, and Lopez was getting let up with that, but they need him now. We're worried about Emilio being hurt, though. Whoever thought we'd be worried about that? Huh?
Oh
So
yeah.
anyway, yeah, they're I keep saying they're better than they were last year because of the pitching, because of the
Yeah. I think that's true.
starting pitching. But they're very inconsistent offensively, and they're consistent more on the side of ineptitude than they are on being like they were yesterday, which was pretty good. But what's forgotten here is that Lewis hit the 3-run homer, but he also got a hit with 2 out in the ninth to get extra innings, right? So
Yeah.
otherwise they lose one. Apparently, I wasn't watching then. I was at an event when Altuve hit the grand slam, but I heard Probus talking about it later. That was as loud as he's ever heard any baseball stadium ever, because 40,000 people excited, and then he hits the home run for Altuve because he just came back 3-4 days ago.
Yeah.
So he's a Hall of Famer, that little guy.
Oh
He's
yeah.
I don't think we've ever popped him for any. He never got popped for the roids, did he? I don't think so.
No,
So
I mean, he was obviously part of all the sign
yeah,
stealing stuff, but he was kind of on the fringes of that, I think, too. So yeah, he's something else. And yeah, to overcome that. I mean, I was kind of checking in on that game. We were traveling back from um up at a cabin yesterday, so I wasn't watching the game, but I checked in when it was 4-1. I was like, okay, so they maybe they got their act together. It was after the Lewis, I think it was after the Lewis home run, and then
yeah.
next thing I know, I'd kind of peeked in at the game because we stopped, and I think we were eating lunch, and it was on somewhere, and I saw it was 5-5. I'm like, oh, like what happened here?
Yeah, well, that's Altuve is he's something. Their pitching's really beat up though. They're missing 3 starters. They got another guy pitching today I never heard of, Bielik or something. So Houston is that's their big problem is they were kind of rebuilding their pitching staff with Verlander gone, and then who's been bad, but with the Mets, and then they got a bunch of them hurt, so that's not good.
No, it is not. Well, still in first place. It's gonna be. It's hard to shake first place in the
Yeah,
American
it's
League
gonna
Central.
be
You try as
well,
you
it's
might.
hard to lose the lead when nobody's chasing you. But it's I had hope for the Whitey. Well, I'm not hope for the Whiteys. I'm not a Hope fan, but now they've flattened out again. They're 10 under.
Yeah,
Liam Hendricks pitched last night, but
yeah, that was
but
great.
yeah, I think a big reception for him. But he really is a good dude. He was here,
Yes.
the young Australian here when the Twins were signing all those Aussies. We don't sign Aussies anymore. What happened? What are we mad at Australia for? We won't sign any more Australians. But I. But
Who's the Australian hit? Who was the Australian hitter they had? I'm trying to think. Why can't I think of it?
Luke Hughes.
Luke Hughes. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Luke got mad at me once because what's wrong with you, mate? He was something. I said something because he just sat on the inside fastball, and he could only pull, and I kind of ripped him for the out. He doesn't know that the outside of the plate exists, kind of guy. And
Yeah.
what was that about, mate? Yeah, apparently in Australia they didn't have to put up with that. I don't know what it
Okay.
was. Luke Hughes, there was a few of them too. They had 3 or 4 guys that came through here.
Take a playcation to Mystic Lake. With 24/7 gaming, the good times never have to end. And you can satisfy your cravings at our restaurants and bars. Or relax in one of our luxurious hotel rooms. Those that play together, stay together. And don't forget to join Club M so you can spark new memories and bask in the rewards along the way. Follow the lights to Mystic Lake, where every day is play day.
So the Heat, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that whole series and just the idea of, I guess it goes to show, with the Heat winning pretty easily Game 7 in Boston, how hard it really is to come back from 3-0, because once you get to 7, you've expended a lot of energy, you've exhausted a lot of your reserves, and you're a little tight too, because now all of a sudden the pressure is back on you. I don't know. I don't know what, and Tatum getting hurt early in that game obviously is bigger than any of that stuff, but man, just that maybe I shouldn't be surprised just because it's never been done, and that's probably why it hasn't been done. But just to see that outcome yesterday was still surprising to me.
I did read, however, that of all the teams that came back 3-0 and to tie it, they were the first. Not all of them. There haven't been that many, but they were the first one to have Game 7 at home.
Yes.
All the others. So, and I still think in the NBA, home court makes it. It's the only sport. Basketball's the only sport left where being at home makes any difference, in my opinion. But they were the first one to have it at home. But you're right, Tatum. I mean, Tatum is 60% of that team. He's as much of that team as Jimmy Butler is. But the Heat are amazing. These anonymous guys that aren't drafted that they bring in. And Martin, now the latest is this Martin guy who was great throughout. He was their second best player throughout most of the series. But it is funny. I was listening to the post game, watching the post game, and here comes team leader Jimmy Butler.
Yep.
Here comes Jimmy. Jimmy looks skinny, man. He looks in great shape.
Yeah.
They were talking about the, they are, it's an old Pat Riley thing. They weigh in all the time. Did you hear that?
Really? No, I didn't know that.
They weigh in because they want to make sure they're all in shit. They have this, it's a minor discipline they have, but you weigh in every day. And when Jimmy Butler showed up for to be interviewed by them to see if he wanted to sign with them and they wanted to sign with him for that meeting, they had him weigh in. They wanted to see how much he weighed then, and then they want to see if you maintain that weight. But Spoelstra, now he's got to be dyeing that hair, right? I mean, he can't have that jet black of hair, but he's the youngest looking 50-year-old or whatever he is I've ever seen. And that, the fact that it's a coaching mismatch had to help him too. I don't think this young kid who's coaching, who ended up with the Celtics job, has any idea what he's doing. And Spoelstra's probably the best there is. So, but I still like Denver in 5, don't you?
Oh, yeah, Denver's awfully good. I mean, I'm not counting the Heat out of anything at this point, just based on what we've seen. But yeah, Denver surprised me, and I think I've said this a couple times. Denver surprised me. I just thought they were kind of one of those. We see these in the NBA a lot. One of those nice regular season teams that gets that number 1 seed. But I thought they were going to lose to Phoenix in the second round, and that proved to be obviously completely off base. And then to sweep the Lakers. I mean, it's there. I mean, the Wolves actually gave them a decent series in retrospect, I guess. I mean, that's faint praise, and it was still 5 games, but yeah, the Nuggets are better than I thought they were, I guess is the long story short. And the Heat have got to run out of gas at some point, man. They've been playing like
they had 2 play-in games. They lost
grinding.
The first play-in game. They lost the first play-in game, so they had to play 2 play-in games.
Yes.
And, yeah, it's been astounding. But the thing about Denver, I don't think I've ever fully appreciated Jokic until watching him in this playoff. He's the most unique player I've ever seen. He's a 7-foot point guard. It's unbelievable. He's the greatest passer. We talk about it. He's not the greatest passer of big centers. He's the greatest passer. He's Magic Johnson all over again, and he's 7 foot tall and weighs 300 pounds. It's unbelievable.
Remember there was a conversation like 4 or 5 years ago, like Jokic or Cat, like which one's better? Like who's
right.
I think Jokic maybe grew his game a little bit more since then than Cat did.
Yeah, it's incredible the way that they just revolve around him, and then he just flips up these threes. Like
I know.
When he's they're trying to make sure he doesn't pass the ball to somebody, so he just goes whoop. And throws it about 12 feet up in the air, and down she comes. He's a fantastic player, and Jamal Murray's, great. And they only play 7 or 8 guys, but they're, you're right. The Heat'll make them work for it, but I think Denver's going to win it. That'll be a party out there. They've never won one. So,
yeah. I think
they won one in the old ABA, didn't they?
They might have. They might have, but
I can't remember that.
I think if Bam has a chance to guard Jokic, then it could be a series. Like he seems like the kind of defender that could depending on how they match up, if they kind of do the thing where they try to put someone else on Jokic and then Bam kind of roams around and gives help, maybe they've got a chance, or if Bam can play him straight up. But it's the Heat's just got to run out of gas at some point. Although the thing you forget about the Heat is they were in the finals in the bubble, and then they were in Game 7 of the conference finals last year too. Like this is only surprising because of their regular season struggles, not because they're not a good team.
Well, did I hear they were the lowest scoring team in the league?
Yeah, their offense was not good. I don't know if I don't know. I didn't hear that they were lowest scoring, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Or maybe the lowest shooting or something. I don't know. But statistically, offensively, they were terrible. But they don't really worry about it, I guess. So they just, they start once they get rolling a little bit, they're tough. This is 6 finals for Spoelstra, although only 2 without LeBron and D Wade and those guys. So he was in 4 with those guys, right?
Yeah, they went 4 in a row and won 2 of them when LeBron was there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but 6 for him. He's but I suppose if you're down there and you're hearing about it, you get sick of hearing this Heat culture stuff too. I mean, it's, I think the Heat culture is they guard you,
Yeah.
and they have some Spoelstra said that yesterday. He says, how do you play this defense? He says your best players have to defend. And he said, yeah, and Jimmy Butler defends. All their good players defend. So that's not true everywhere, as we well know.
No, and maybe Jimmy finally found his forever home. Well,
as long as they keep paying him, as long as they don't try to cut him down $20, I'm sure.
Right. Well, NHL proved how hard it is to win it, to come back too, because the Stars were trying it. They'd come back from 3-0 to get 3-2, and then Vegas just absolutely clobbers them last night, and that was in Dallas, right?
Yeah, home ice disadvantage in the playoffs in the NHL. It's unbelievable. I don't know what the stats are, but the first round was ridiculous. The home teams never won any games. But I've noticed, that's something I noticed 5-6 years ago. I remember when Louis was the general manager 100 years ago, you got to get that home ice.
Right.
We were always fighting for that home ice. Home ice means nothing. If it's anything, it's a disadvantage, because I think like Dallas, the pressure's on them completely, right? They they come back and win 2 in a row. But Vegas was better than them. I didn't watch much, but when I watched, it looked like the adults playing the scrappy little team that was trying to catch up with them. But Vegas, and I don't know. Right now you got Vegas versus Florida. That's got to have the lowest rating in the history of NHL finals, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think about the NBA too. Maybe we talked about this last week, but they had a chance to have Boston, LA, and they wind up with Heat Nuggets instead.
Yeah, they're going to have, their ratings have been slipping a little anyway in playoffs. I mean, in previous years, I don't know about this year, but yeah, it's you're going to get a huge rating. In Miami, you probably never get over a 15 anyway, because they don't care. But they got to go to the beach and the club and everything, and they see if the soccer games are on from Venezuela and stuff. But they don't care. But Denver will have an 80 rating. But it's not gonna be glorious, the ratings. Although the whole rating business is like ridiculous now, because, as you wrote, we don't know how we're watching TV now anyway.
Well,
how do you judge streaming? I don't know. How do you judge it as a rate? The old rating thing doesn't work anymore, does it?
I don't think it does. Like, I think the streaming on, like, the more kind of mainstream platforms like YouTube TV or Hulu, that gets counted because it's all kind of part of one big pot. But I don't know if those are part of, like, the ratings homes. Like, I don't know if that's really part of that, because it's just all just a sample of certain places and how much people are watching. They're not taking a sample of every single household. But the larger point stands, like, how how we watch sports right now, and just, both regional and national stuff is just getting more interesting now. And we've got this hearing coming up tomorrow in Houston, where we're going to find out a little bit more about the short-term future of the Twins and some of these other teams where Bally hasn't paid them in full, and they're asking them to revert the rights back to Major League Baseball. And there's a chance that Major League Baseball could take over operation of some games even this year, and that could be the Twins. Like if that contract gets severed, you could be watching Twins games differently in a month or two than you are right now. And their contract with Bally's is up at the end of the year anyway, so something's going to happen at some point. I don't think they love their relationship at Bally's, and that's maybe an understatement with Diamond Sports and their bankruptcy and all the problems they've had. But it's I think the problem is people got used to paying a little bit less when the streaming came out, and then the channels got took away in the regional sense. But B, it's like it's hard to find games, and the leagues and teams aren't going to want less money, Patrick. I don't think they're ever going to want less money, so they keep kind of slicing and dicing these national rights. And like Peacock's got some NFL playoff games now, and Amazon Prime shows the Thursday games. Like at a certain point, it's going to get kind of either expensive or confusing or both to get everything you want.
Yeah, it is confusing. Now there was the decision in Phoenix, right, where the guy tried to change the TV deal,
yes,
and then the bankruptcy court didn't let him, right? Because and that season was over, wasn't it?
Yes, although I think it's on hold because the NBA season isn't over right now. So I think that's the problem right now. But it's also some sort of, I don't understand bankruptcy courts. I'm not going to try to pretend like I do, but I read enough about that to think that something about the NBA season not being over yet is at least a sticking point in that.
But did they have a contract for next year?
I don't think so. I think their contract was up this year.
Well, I mean, if they can have, if part of the bankruptcy thing is this is an asset when you declared bankruptcy, right, and even if the contract's expired, you can still claim it as an asset.
Right,
it would be a disaster for the Twins and Twins, Cleveland, and who else aren't getting paid?
There's like 4 or 5 teams that are in that mix. I think they missed. They missed some payments with the Padres.
Yeah. But the Twins, they haven't made a payment all year, right?
I think they, there's been some reports that they paid the teams that they missed the payment to, that they made half the payment to them. That they paid them half of what they were owed. I don't know that to be true, but I've seen that reported a couple places. So, it's.
I don't know. I know as much about bankruptcy as you, but I'll bet they have to stand. I bet they end up having to stay on Bally until the end of the year.
I think so too. These things in court never move that fast, right? There's not.
No, and the bankruptcy judges always try to protect the creditors, right?
They're protecting the assets. Yeah, I mean.
So they're protecting the assets for the people who have invested in Diamond Sports. I guess I don't know.
Which is just
but I don't. If you don't pay, I don't know how you can keep the rights, but that's there's some belief that that's what's going to happen. I guess we'll find out. So
yeah, well, and the bigger picture is just like I said, MLB wants to run all these games. They want control over all of the regional broadcasts, and I don't know if they're going to be able to get all.
Where's the money going to come from?
That's the question. I mean, they want to sell subscriptions and put them over the air. And part of this Phoenix model you were talking about with the NBA teams was they're going to put all these put games over the air, like on free local broadcasts, but then streaming. A streaming package for people who want to get them, basically out of market. And I think their idea is A, they can recoup some of the money that way. They're probably going to lose money, but B, that the amount of households they can reach that way, like they're reaching about 800,000 households right now on Bally with Phoenix. If they do it over the air, they'd reach about 2.8 million households. So they're thinking that if they can expand their reach, get more people watching the games, then that's going to be better for their brand overall, and that'll kind of flow back to them that way. So
advertisers will like 2.8 million more, and they keep the ad money and
something like that. And I got to imagine at some point in the future, gambling comes into play, and the ability to show these games and getting them in front of people and getting engaged audiences. gambling on these games in real time. I don't know how. No, I
It
don't know
is.
how soon that's going to happen, but I got to imagine that's a piece of the financial puzzle too.
It is funny though. We're not doing it on our broadcast here, but I was watching. Who was I watching yesterday? A ball game, and they said, and they during the inning break, they were showing you how the odds had changed on the outcome of the game. Because
Yeah,
I'd say like the over and under on runs had been lowered since the game started and telling you how to make a bet. It was
yeah, that's
it's
amazing.
unbelievable. And yet the NBA, NFL is still throwing guys out of the league for being in a pool for whatever the heck it was. Or, the NFL is, yes,
Right.
we have sold our souls completely to gambling, but you can't fill out you can't call up and what they're basically doing a little DraftKings stuff, right?
Yeah,
That
and
they're
you can't
throwing
do it.
out for.
Yeah, you
Can't do
can't.
anything, right?
You can't do it on NFL game. Well, you can't do it on NFL games, and you can't do any kind of betting from like an NFL facility. I think they can bet on other sports if they're just sitting at home or they're somewhere else, but they can't do they can't do anything on the NFL or from the NFL facility. So it's I don't know,
You
it's
got to get the
all
wife or girlfriend to do the gambling for you in the
right.
future,
Right.
right? Oh,
Yeah. So I don't know. I think a lot of this is accelerated in the last 3 or 4 years since people have just been cutting the cord like crazy. Like I saw a report a few weeks ago that basically Bally Sports has lost more than half of its
yeah, right.
customers in the last 10 years as people just kind of, and once you go without something for a while and you're like, yeah, maybe I didn't need that as much as I thought I did. Yeah,
Well,
I'm just gonna
the funny thing is, I did it like 2, 3 years ago because I was getting these ungodly Comcast bills, right?
right.
And then, by the time my wife's bought all these apps and everything, I'm spending just as much money as I did on Comcast, but I'm not going back now.
Right. Well, that
I've made the plunge off the deep end, but I don't know where anything is, or I mean, I know where it is, but okay, we're trying to watch some show we watched last week. Got to go through five. Got to go through five streaming services to remember where the hell
right.
it was.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's not necessarily less expensive anymore. It's definitely more confusing. I mean, I think for sports fans, who it's going to be good for probably in the long run is if you just really like one team or two teams or one league, and all you really want is Twins or all you really want is Timberwolves, and you're going to be able to get at some
Yeah,
point. Like once these all things get settled out, you'll be able to get your access to one team or one league for a lot less than if you pay your Comcast or your DirecTV bill. But if you want everything, if you're kind of a fan of all sports, kind of like you and I are, like it's hard to get every single game without, having like 15 different things, right?
yeah, it is. It is. It's you know, Valley's homerism and everything drives you crazy at times, but the fact that it's been there and you know where to find stuff was for the local teams was pretty good. So yeah, it's going to be missed, but then again, the fawning approach to covering teams might not be missed. But I suppose if MLB takes it over,
Yes, I was going to
they're
say.
not going to be more critical.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think
for
MLB is going to be ripping their teams, especially,
no.
and I'll be
This
interested.
will this team ever get a hit with the bases loaded? These
and,
steps.
and it
Let's get
sounds
you and me on there on the. We'll do the telecast for him. We'll tell the truth. Damn it.
yes. Well, and I want to see how they do them too. Like, are they going to keep kind of the
This
same?
this fat little catcher has had 3 extra base hits all year. Stop playing him.
Are they going to? Well, and are they
Another
going to?
breaking ball. Why are you throwing those cookie curveballs when this guy's got a 97-mile-an-hour fastball? This is stupid. What do you think? You think the public could go for that? That's
Well,
a
and
commentary on the game.
well, and what's it going to look like too when it's becomes owned by one entity? Do you do two broadcasts of one game still? Do you do a home and away broadcast still?
That's you know what, the money saving probably not, which would be at least it would be in a lot of markets it would be a tragedy if you
Yes.
if you didn't have the home team. But you're right, on TV broadcasts, there's probably a good chance that you're not going to have the NBA, MLB will hire 15 crews, right? And they'll
That's
do.
kind of what MLS is doing right now. That they've done all their games on Apple TV. They're not doing all the local crews anymore. Still have some people that are kind of consistently working a lot of the games, but I don't know. I think we're a little ways down the road from that, but that's, we're kind of used to the same voices in baseball. Is that going to be the case? I don't know. Maybe there's more money in those broadcasts than in soccer broadcasts, but I want to see how they do those games too, if that comes to pass.
Yeah, it will be interesting, So, yeah, we've come a long way since the Twins couldn't find any home and they ended up on Channel 4 doing 25, 30 games with Ray Scott and R.J. Fritz 1 year. I think they had 2 years with Channel 4 in the mid 70s because there was so little interest in them. People had turned on them completely, and they were not. That's my favorite moment ever in broadcasting when Ray Scott is doing a game in Comiskey and looks down and he's been describing the wrong hitter. He says, "RJ, I missed that." He said, "I missed this, RJ. How did I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
How did he make it out?" And RJ says, "I don't know, Ray. I wasn't watching either."
Oh my gosh.
Candor. We don't get that kind of candor.
No, we don't. It was a little bit more relaxed those days, wasn't it? That's great. Oh, well, let's wrap up there, huh? I think we're probably good.
Good enough.
Appreciate it, Patrick. We'll see you next week.